Are you ready for the Network Podcast? Welcome back to Network, the podcast that brings you real talk to inspire and invest here in North Central Washington. I'm your host, David Mabey, the Marketing Director at NCW Tech Alliance. Today's guest is Jerred Mace, a University of Washington graduate, a designer and entrepreneur who's on a mission to reshape how people with visual disabilities experience live sports. Jerred is the founder and CEO of OneCourt, a startup born from two powerful threads in his life, his experience with low vision and his lifelong hunger for innovation. Together, those threads are driving a remarkable idea. What if everybody could feel the game? I want to welcome in today Jerred. Jerred, how you doing?
Hey, David. I'm doing really great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. The crowd, I don't know if you hear them here. The crowd is just going crazy for you here.
Woo woo. I love that. It's like we're at Flywheel again.
Hey, Jerred, you described two threads that shaped your journey, one rooted in your experience with low vision and one with your passion for innovation. Can you kind of talk us through how those came together?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, like both of those, whether it was my experience and challenges with vision or in, this just passion for innovation, like both felt to me innate. Like it just feels like it's something I was born with. Of course that's true for vision. The innovation one is more interesting perhaps, and I think has something to do. My dad was an artist, and I definitely was exposed to creativity, and I think rewarded and encouraged to be creative as a kid. A funny one I always share is like this idea for a automatic foot pedal toilet flusher. I think I had seen one in an RV or something and wanted to make one for my home. So I got some PVC pipe and an old spring in the garage, and I duct taped it to the toilet, and it worked. It wasn't very,
how old
didn't
were
work
you
for very long.
How old were you when you did that?
Oh man, I was probably like 10 or something at the time. But
so
it's that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've been doing stuff like that forever, it feels like. So I feel like when I got to UW, definitely it was kind of the perfect combination of like, here's a personal experience, here's this passion I have for creating new things, and let's see what we can do with it. But yeah, both of those have come together at OneCourt, which is, of course, really gratifying for me. As a kid growing up, just unsure about my vision and what I might be able to accomplish. But it was also like the outside world and different expressions of, judgment or people applying a limitation to me that I didn't even see, right? Like, right. I think sometimes people would see how I would accommodate or adjust in a situation and think, oh, he must not be able to do that. So I think it's definitely shaped my heart for OneCourt, and of course the thread of innovation, the desire to create new things. And that's just something I've always been doing, sketching, prototyping. That's always been there. So
that's awesome. And your journey, you started like exploring with writing, sculptures, and business. What eventually pulled you into this like industrial design part of it that you've gotten into?
Yeah, I think I grew up also thinking that, okay, I want to create a business. I want to create products. Like, where am I going to find those people at the university? And I think I got the answer only partially correct. Like when I showed up to the University of Washington, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to the business school and I'm going to start a business there. And I realized partway into the program that, oh my gosh, like there's a whole nother side of it. And it's maybe the side I had already experienced, which was the product creation side, as I just mentioned, that early prototype, right? So I think it was actually a mentor I had at the business school who was a designer herself, and she recommended, hey, I think you should go look at the design school. So once I did that, it felt like the fit was perfect, and I was able to kind of balance, okay, my two passions, like I can get what I need from the design school as well as like doing other additional classes from the business school. So
right.
I definitely found a balance, but there is still like, to this day, I'm a huge art, sculpture, anything in 3 dimensions, I kind of I really get into.
I just wonder if it's like I'm kind of a creative type as well. I like music. I like, DJ, I do all these things, but it's like I shoot pictures. I always seem to like gravitate towards one for a little while. And then I start doing that and then it becomes like a job to me. So then I start gravitating towards another one for a hobby. So is that kind of how your path works for that? I'm just wondering if that's like a creative mind thing that we all deal with as creatives, or if I'm just crazy.
No, I think you're right. And I think for me, there are some very like deep threads in that, I want to be doing art and sculpture for the rest of my life, and I feel like once I do pick something up, it's hard for me to put it down. So I I keep picking up new things and having to make hard trade-offs. But I do really, I love the variety, and I do love the distance that it creates, from like work, as you're saying, because things can feel like work, but I think art probably shouldn't.
Right. But I think it's just for me, it's when you start doing that thing and then like pictures became like, oh, you're good at pictures, so you could do this for your job. And then you start doing it as your job. Then I needed an outlet to like, as an outlet. And then I started doing music, and then it's like, so yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't have to monetize. You can do something for the love of that process.
Right. And I think as a creative type, it helps me like be more creative in the other things I'm trying to do. So that just changes with me all the time. You were talking about your mentorship. Was there any other collaborations at UW that kind of played in shaping that role? And did you find that mentor like early, like freshman, sophomore year? Or was this something where you're like, I'm on this business path and now I got to change because I'm a junior and I'm trying to figure my crap out? Or what was that process?
Yeah, it was definitely early that I was plugged into a lot of the programs and things on campus. There's a few that really stand out. I mean, the University of Washington has a fantastic entrepreneurship ecosystem. And there were at that time and still today, several programs, right? Anyone from across the UW could plug into. For me, it was the one that I met this mentor at was called Build Your Own Business. And it was a biweekly workshop that students could just go and pitch ideas and get feedback. And what I loved about it was iterative. I went every session, and I was able to pitch once, but then pitch again and come back. And, each time there was sort of this next step of like, okay, what am I going to do in between this session and the next one that I can learn and progress towards this idea? So I think that was really powerful. And it was just one program. I mean, there were others as well. The Lavin Entrepreneurship Program is fantastic. It's where I met one of my co-founders, actually. So there's definitely no shortage at UW.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so were you just pitching like ideas you had, or is this kind of where you're forming the OneCourt, or what kind of things were you pitching? Or are you just trying to learn like the process?
At the time, it was actually a totally different project. It was called the With Joy Project. And it was I basically had created the fortune cookie for coffee. So it was a coffee sleeve like any you'd find at Starbucks or whatnot. But instead of just being a piece of cardboard, it also had a hidden message. So you could pull out this little card and it would say, have an inspirational quote or something uplifting. And it was a really fun project. Ultimately gave me maybe my first lesson on starting a business and like what not to do. And the fact that, doing it alone is like 1,000 times harder. That was definitely maybe the core takeaway. But yeah, I had a customer for a while and it was really exciting. I think that's my favorite thing, is taking projects from like zero to that first expression in the market. Yeah.
Well, so let's get to the moment then that OneCourt sparked in your mind. I heard the story of like September 2021. You saw a video of a blind man watching soccer through touch. And then what kind of struck in that moment, and what was that like aha for you, or what was that spark?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the aha was this realization that sports can be ingested in a variety of different ways. And I think generally our world tends to subscribe to a visual first hierarchy. And to see someone experience sports through touch and to see how meaningful it was, but at the same time, how uncommon it was, that was the spark. It was like, how can we bring this experience to everybody. And I think my learning experiences in design and business had definitely prepared me to like step on that opportunity and start to really research and figure it out.
Right. And do you think like part of your growing up then with your visual that kind of tuned you into a different, like, you know what I mean? Like a different empathy or something like that around it? That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I knew what it was like to experience or to miss out on an experience because of my vision. And it's like clearly I had never thought of doing it through touch, but clearly there are other ways to get in and access information in a way that is holistic, right? And in a way that supports that inclusivity across communities and across those different disabilities. So it was definitely like that experience as a kid set my heart for the work we do on OneCourt for sure.
That's awesome, man. It's good to hear. So now you're trying to form a team quickly as this idea comes up, and your teams are they all University of Washington students? And how did you pick those people, and how did those collaborations come about?
Yeah, initially, I had spent about 6 months workshopping it alone, which in hindsight, a bit slow, but I think it was really good for me to get into the weeds and understand like the market space, what has been done, what else is out there, how are people experiencing sports today, and what are their pain points. And then 6 months in, I had presented it for the first time publicly at a university event. It was the Science and Tech Showcase. And I didn't expect much from that other than I was really excited to share it, what I had been working on. But it was to my surprise, people were really excited, and I ended up winning a prize from that competition. And I think it gave me the confidence to like go out and form a team. Right. And at that point, like I had realized my limitations very quickly. Like, in the beginning, you're doing everything, right? Like I'm the marketer, I'm the salesperson, I'm the designer, I'm the engineer, I'm all of those things. But you realize like as one person, you're not all of those things, and you're bad at many of them. So it became a clear responsibility and objective to go out and find people who are much, much better at me in those spaces. And that's what we did. So finding people across the UW, computer science, hardware, sales, like those were some key gaps that we filled early on our co-founding team. So
was there any one particular moment where you're like, I'm not good at this, I need somebody to help you? Or was it just kind of like the culmination of like the 6 months of doing it by yourself? You're like, should be further along. What was there like a driving factor there?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it there. Like I should be further along. I think it's the realization that you can go slow by yourself, or you can go much faster with other people. But I think it was some very real gaps, right? Like in building and prototyping the experience, I could do some limited things, right? I could sort of hack together sort of some approximations of the experience that I was envisioning. But at the end of the day, I couldn't build a full end-to-end system that could do this and prove the validity of this idea. So I think that was definitely like a sobering realization on the product side.
Right. I mean, good on you for thinking that. A lot of people probably get headstrong and don't want to ask for that help right away to get it. So good on you for asking for that early. So for those people who haven't seen OneCourt, how does the haptic, am I saying that right? The haptic game board work, and what's the experience like for someone who's using it? Can you describe that to like someone who may have not think of this at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we've designed a haptic display, and it's very similar to how a visual display works, but instead of pixels that you see, these are pixels that you feel. So what happens today, we have devices in a variety of NBA venues right now, and fans are able to check out this device. It's got the tactile representation of the court. So they're feeling, where's the hoop? Where's the center line? It gives that spatial orientation. And then once the game starts, vibrations will actually start moving underneath the device. And there's nothing actually moving, but in the same way that your, animations and movements on your TV screen, it's the same principles of animation. And we've been able to essentially create a tactile format of the game. And it's all powered by league data. So the teams and leagues, they know exactly what's going on the court. And that's what people are often surprised to learn. They know exactly where the ball is, the players are, and it's happening in near real time. So we take it and translate it into a experience.
What was the first sport you tried this with?
Yeah, we've designed for a variety of sports. The first one was actually tennis. That's a bit of a personal bias on my end. I'm a huge tennis fan. But it makes sense also from the product perspective. Like, it's a relatively simple game, a lot of back and forth. It's very fast. And I think early on, we sort of observed this interesting relationship actually between the pace of a game and how accessible it is, because, fans today are listening to the game, right? It's through audio, the radio, friends or family. And there's a couple big challenges with that, right? Like, you're missing out on the spatial details a lot of times, where the ball is, where the players are. Like, those are things that are hard to describe. And tennis is a great example. Like, how do you describe the position of a tennis ball? By the time you have, it's already moved on, it's changed, the point's over, right? So it was a great proof of concept, but I think broadening our view of like sports and viewing this as something that can do a wide range of content. Like, it's more like a TV than it is like a bespoke sports product. And I think that's definitely been an important aspect of our vision early on. That's
cool. So we saw you last year. You were a top 6 finalist at our 2024 Flywheel Investment Conference. You were awarded the $50,000 investment. What was that experience like for you as a founder, and what impact did that have on the last year's trajectory for OneCourt?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to overstate the impact. Like, attending Flywheel, making it through to that stage, and sharing our vision with so many people was really amazing. And then to have that received well and ultimately result in an investment was really game changing for our company, right? Like, we had never fundraised before, right? That's not something they really teach you in design school or business school for that matter. Like, it's something you do learn by doing. And for us to get out there and be vulnerable, right? Put ourselves out there. It was really amazing to be rewarded with that support, and it's made a huge difference, right? I mean, we had to raise that financing so we could go out and actually build the product and get it in the hands of users, which is where we are today, right? Like, a year ago, OneCourt was not available in any public sense, right? It was our team with prototypes, and we'd have to meet up at a coffee shop or something. But now it's like, it's available in 5 NBA arenas, and a large part of that is due to Flywheel and, the amazing group of investors that have come since then.
That's awesome. I remember you had a actual demo there, a board there, a demo people were checking out. I never got a chance to try it because it was actually super busy. People were trying it out all the time. So, well, what's the biggest lesson you've learned then about pitching and kind of the mission-driven startup with investors from this process? And how would you say, what kind of change do you see in yourself after going through Flywheel? And now, like, if you've done any more pitches or anything like that, or is there anything that's like, oh, well, this is easy because I've already done this?
Yeah, I think sometimes what's really been important is clarifying assumptions and being really clear about those assumptions, right? I think we've learned, like, it's better to be clear and state our decision or our trajectory, our vision, than it is to be vague and hold back for reasons of, oh, we're just not sure yet. Like, I think we've been building the model and we're proving it out, right? And it's those proof points that cement or validate your assumptions or make new assumptions, right? So I think it's been important for us to give ourselves the grace to actually learn, but also put some markers in the ground as to, like, where we're headed. So I think, like, just being really clear with ourselves and with our community of investors and prospects, like, this is how we see our business and how we see it growing.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting to me is, like, accessibility is usually like an afterthought of a product or something that's happened, but you guys, you kind of flip that narrative. Device is all about accessibility, with exclusion from the start. So what advice would you have for a founder like starting off with a business about trying to include that accessibility from the start? Do you have any tips or any thoughts on your end dealing with all this?
Totally. I think focus is key, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to solve a problem for people. And I think sometimes startups and companies get in the trap of, oh, we need to solve this for everyone. It's like, it's not necessarily the case. I think the wedge is such a powerful tool to think about, right? Like you need to strike a chord with, it could be a small group of people, but if you change their life or you have a huge impact on them, like it's really meaningful. And I think it starts there, but it doesn't have to end there. So I think we often think about this in accessibility, like design for one, be really targeted, be really thoughtful about your approach,
right?
But extend to many as you pick up new insights and realize, oh my gosh, this isn't just useful for one group, it's useful for many. And maybe more people will realize that along the way. And I think that's been well documented in many, many product spaces.
Yeah, for sure. So has there been a moment or moments where you've been like, somebody's come up to you and thanked you, or has there been any real special moments where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like life-changing stuff. I didn't expect this. Can you just kind of share a couple moments that have been like eye-opening or like you didn't expect?
Absolutely. I think a few come to mind. Like we're really fortunate. I mean, we have done like the most special thing about our work is that we have built something that people love. Like that's really hard to do. And it's like an extreme challenge, but we are so lucky that, people are open and sharing their love for our work and even criticism, right? It's not all love, but I think some of those things early on, many people have shared, gosh, like I feel like I'm a part of the action for the first time. And we started seeing those comments when we got into Stadium and we realized the impact of having a real-time experience. Like we had talked about it, we had envisioned it, and we had even heard from people that, oh my gosh, I feel left behind because the radio is 30 seconds delayed.
Right.
And everyone has reacted around me and I'm waiting to get caught up. But I think we just underestimated the impact that OneCourt has in delivering that real-time experience. Like people just feel like they're a part of the crowd, like they can react and heckle the ref alongside everybody else, And that's been, I think, the most gratifying thing. In particular, most recently, I was at a conference and I was speaking to a fan he's been a Dodgers fan since 1959. And he's been listening to the game on the radio for that time. And like to hear his reflection on accessing the game through the radio and the impact that OneCourt had in just adding additional color, additional context to the game that he clearly loves so much. Like there really is nothing more special than that, to see people engaging with their sport in a deeper way. So pretty
that's
special.
Amazing. And you got a world championship out of it last year. So I'm going to say that's all because of OneCourt. What's been, I've seen you've done some really cool interviews, NPR, I saw that one, but what's been one, like a moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this person or this outlet wants to interview me? Have you had a really special moment or special moments on that?
Gosh, I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, the NPR, the Athletic, New York Times, right? I mean, these are kind of crazy moments to think about. Sports Business Journal. Gosh, I must be forgetting some. I think another, really notable moment, it wasn't necessarily in the media, but was when, Stevie Wonder had tried our prototype back at CES a couple years ago. And of course, Stevie is both an amazing musician as well as someone with a visual disability. It was pretty cool to hear his take on it. And that was a special moment for sure. But I'm trying to think if there's other media moments.
I mean, Stevie Wonder's pretty legendary. NPR, Stevie Wonder, New York Times. Yeah, you call out a couple there. A little jealous of the Stevie Wonder one, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him? Were you like there when he was doing it, or was that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a special moment. Thankfully, somebody warned us. I would have probably been a little less prepared if it would have been random. But thankfully, he was a few stalls down, and somebody was like, "Hey, just so you know, be ready."
That's awesome. Has there been any moments where somebody's caught you off guard that like I don't know, celebrity or anything like that's caught you off guard that's wanted to try it or has brought it up?
Not other than that. No,
that's a pretty big one. And my other question was, were you on hand? Did you do I saw the Trailblazers one. You guys did that at an actual game the first time you tried it? Was that in the game, or was that just, were you guys outside of the game?
Sorry, for the first time we had tried OneCourt in stadium?
Yeah, with the NBA, like during the game. I'm just wondering if that was like you guys were at the stadium and it was like everybody sitting together, or if it was like a broadcast outside. What was that, a live experience in the stadium, or was that outside of the stadium?
Yeah, no, it's live in the stadium. So, Portland Trailblazers, they were our first customer along, great partners. I mean, Portland Trailblazers and Ticketmaster coming together to bring OneCourt to Moda Center. It was a huge risk, obviously, like we're an early stage startup, but I think they gave us the opportunity to prove ourselves and to prove that this experience drives a ton of value for fans. And we've seen that the entire season. So they were the first to really test it out. And we did a pilot with them a couple years back, and now, this was the first full season of games. So very exciting to see that kind of growth into the full season implementation. It just unveils so many more learnings, right? Like it is one thing to do a pilot, but to do something that's sustainable and that's operationally sound, that's a whole nother level. Yeah.
So is that like a ticket add-on for them if you need the OneCourt thing, or is it like something you rent at the stadium? What's the process of like getting that if somebody were trying to try this out?
Yeah. So basically it fits into current fan experience channels. So, at any arena around the country, you'll find there's a guest services or fan experience booth, and they'll have things like wheelchairs and radios and sensory kits, all of that stuff. And then the ones we work with, of course, get OneCourt devices, and fans are able to just check those out on game day. In some places you can reserve ahead. I think that's still being worked out, as to what's the best way to do it. Ideally, with our partners at Ticketmaster, we'd love to continue innovating with them and putting that earlier in the ticketing process, right? Like being able to say, oh, I want OneCourt with my seat. It's definitely something we're excited about, but it's a dream at this point that we're working on. But right now it's pretty easy for fans to just pick up from guest services, and it's free, right? It's no additional cost for them. Yeah.
I mean, your dreams seem to be happening pretty fast right now, so that's awesome, man. Well, I mean, we're flying through this, Jerred. This has been awesome, super inspiring. We're getting in our signature question part. So for inspiring, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone building something with a purpose?
Yeah, I think the advice, I don't feel like I'm in a position to give a lot of advice, right? We're pretty early in this, so let's see how it goes, right? I want to be aware of that. But in the experience in doing this, we have learned a lot. And I think my biggest takeaways so far have been around team. So I recommend if anyone's working on a project or has an idea for a project, it's much better to do it with somebody, and ideally several other people who bring the skill sets that help fill out the team. Because it's likely that doing it alone is just it's gonna take a long time, or it's just not going to be done in the way you want. So scale the team.
It also makes you, I guess, somebody's relying on you for answers or things like that. When by yourself, there's no driving force, and you have to be self-driven. So I would say it also help you probably pick up the pace and drive a little faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for investing, what's one skill or mindset you're still working on as a founder?
I think I'm always working on communication, expectation management. I've realized that's something haven't done very well. And I think a lot of times it's just been really valuable to learn that, okay, what's in my head? And I learned this as a designer, right? Like we got this drilled into us that like what's in our head is not in someone else's head. And it's our job as designers to like do a sketch or do a visualization or find a way to communicate that idea so that somebody else can get it very quickly. And I'm definitely still working on that. And it's so applicable across the board, right? It's applicable when it comes to investor relations, any sales relationships, any team relationships, managerial relationships, any external or internal relationship, I think has benefited from that sort of realization that communication is what is going to bridge this gap.
Right.
And it's not just going to be, there's a lot of unwritten assumptions that are best just expressed.
Right. Do you feel that then at this moment, do you have like a superpower? Or you're saying about like bringing what's in your head to other people? Is that a mini superpower you think you have yet? Or are you still working on your superpower?
Yeah. I mean, I think my creativity is definitely my best asset. Like I've always felt that. I think because it comes naturally to me, I feel like I'm really proficient at coming up with sometimes unusually creative answers to problems. And I think it's something I try to do in our team. It's something I try to help others with. It just is kind of naturally, it just feels like a spring for me. And the more I flex that muscle, the better I get at it. And it's like my favorite thing. So. All right. If you need ideas.
So if OneCourt was a reality show, what would it be called?
That's a wild question. I'm trying to think. It'd probably be like, what's next or something. I feel like we're always thinking about that question. And every day it feels like there's something new or something exciting to think about.
Right.
And at the same time that it's like a huge opportunity, it's also like a problem. It's like, oh my gosh, we need to focus. So I would say it's definitely, that sitcom would explore that thread of like, okay, focus, opportunity, balance, all of that.
Okay. And then do you have a favorite sporting moment of all time?
Of all time is really hard. Man, I mean, my favorite of all time is probably the Wimbledon match between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, the final. I think it was 2019. That match was incredible. I remember I was watching it alone for some reason, and sports are not often enjoyed to their maximum alone. But for some reason, that match I fell in love with, and I felt like even though I was alone, it was just a really interesting experience and something I really enjoyed. I would say as of late, though, the NBA playoffs have been very exciting. Like the series with the Nuggets and OKC has been incredible. Aaron Gordon hitting those buzzer beaters. That's been pretty exciting to watch. So I've been staying up to date on the highlights.
Do you have a favorite NBA team?
My favorite NBA team, look, it's the Sonics, right? Even though they don't exist.
Bring them back.
I'm sure they're coming back. I got my gear when they do. But yeah, Sonics, of course.
I didn't know that. Sonics are like, I was around Kemp, Peyton, Shrimp. Golden era Sonics. So like, yeah, I've been a Sonics fan for a long time, and that I love the fact that Peyton won't retire his jersey in OKC because he's like, they never cheered for me.
That's how it should be. They'll come back.
I know. I'm waiting for it. Well, Jerred, I hope to have you come back soon. This is, I want to thank you for sharing your journey, for showing us how human created design can lead to world-changing innovation, from the classroom to the startup stage to winning Flywheel, your work with OneCourt is just showing the tech world what's possible when you start with empathy and end with impact. How can people find you on social media? What's the best place to get in touch with OneCourt before we get out of here?
Yeah, definitely visit our website. It's onecourt.io. We've got a great newsletter. I recommend everyone join. It's every month. It's not crazy. We're not going to blow up your inbox, but I recommend joining that if you want to stay up to date on our recent progress. LinkedIn and the other socials, we're on Instagram, Facebook, any of the socials are a great place to find us as well. We're most active on LinkedIn. But yeah, definitely a great place to find us. And yeah, please do stay in touch.
All right. And then you can subscribe to the network podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll see you next time for more real talk to inspire, invest, and empower an NCW. Thank you, Jerred, for being on. And thank you for tuning in to the network podcast. We'll see you next time.